Boom, guess who stepped in the room? Draped in black diamonds like a fucking monsoon.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Rome 2, and this is the campaign, and I'm going to give it a go as Iceni on Legendary difficulty.
Your people are warriors, but you seek to live in harmony with your kin. The Demeter have chosen to disrupt your peace and bring harm to your people, so stopping them must be your first order of business. The Brigantes are also unreliable, and should be dealt with by any means possible. Finally, the Belgic Atrebates leave you little choice but war after their many attempts to settle your lands. However, you share no bad blood with the Damnonii, so they may prove valuable allies when you cross the narrow sea. By the will of Andraste, the Iceni will never yield.
Okay, here we go. So now I've done I did the Rome faction campaign on Legendary. Took over about half of Europe and found, wow, this is just too easy. So I thought I'd actually do this for a video. Hopefully this is a little bit more difficult, being a minor faction. But there's lots of things to like about the game, but there are some terrible things that are wrong with Rome 2. One of them is the AI, as I've mentioned previously, and it really stands out when you do the campaign as well, because it's
I look forward to
really, for Legendary, you want it. You sort of do want it to be sort of difficult, but I don't think CA sort of grasp what is difficult and what isn't, obviously, because this is after about 3 or 4 full turns, you can certainly see what the AI does, and it's nothing too complicated. And there are some things that are really irritating as well.
Ready for battle.
But the most important thing is, hopefully, with a bit of luck, playing as Britain might be a little bit more complicated. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is bring all our troops and make one big army. Because really, you don't want lots of little armies, you just really need just one big army.
Hail to the mother!
To start with, anyway. Okay, so you don't want to go and get a hell of a lot of mercenaries to start with, because that costs you money. So only just sort of purchase them prior to launching a big attack, and after you finish doing the attack, just get rid of them. You know, save yourself a little bit of money. There's not a lot of other things you don't have to. You don't need to micromanage a lot in this. It's not intense. It's not like
I want hourly patrols.
you know, like Empire, Napoleon, even Shogun to some extent. The campaigns were relatively difficult because you had to micromanage quite a lot, and you don't really need to do that in this. It's pretty straightforward.
The mother protects travel.
Now, I do like the idea of having these
what would you
little,
have of me?
like, sub-regions,
Heading out.
making up a large province.
Sure there is nothing else.
I think that's actually really good. But overall, that's probably only one positive that I've seen so far in doing the campaign. Okay, so we don't need to do too much else at the moment. And that's another thing too, is that you're forever, you know, just ending turns, because you can't create a lot of armies like you could in all of the other type campaigns. So again, that limits what you can manage. And I think CA have done that to sort of incorporate a little bit, make it a little bit more difficult for you know, the user against the AI, but really, you know, it's not that complicated. So you manage 3 or 4 big armies to start with, and I think, you know, 3 big armies to start with, and then when you start to take more regions, you can actually get increased number of
live to serve the people of Britain.
armies. It only adds a little bit of complexity, so I think that's sort of a bit of a fail as well. Okay, so probably don't need too many more. We could probably just attack using this. Now, and this is another problem when you're taking regions. If you have a look at this, you know, the balance of power is definitely in the AI's favour, but as you'll see, that it makes no difference. It doesn't actually help the AI at all. You know, and this is really early on when your actual armies are quite weak. I think there's quite a lot of casters who are doing videos and stuff like that who are focusing on churning out lots of different videos without actually telling people where actually the game's bad. I don't know why that is. There's at least one caster I know of who actually has posted comments to say that, you know, that the game's broken. Other than that, most of the other casters seem like they're happy with it, which is really surprising, because out of all of the games of Total War that I've played, and I've played them right from the first Shogun, this seems to be more broken than any of them. Maybe it's, you know, they've just tried for too much, but there's lots of things that are wrong, and a lot of things that are really poorly thought out, and given the hype, I am disappointed. So I'm not sure why there isn't a little bit more of an outcry about how bad it is. Certainly not what I expected. I think it's I actually quite like Shogun. I thought Shogun was pretty good, particularly the campaign. Loved the campaign. Probably Napoleon was still the best campaign, but Shogun was pretty good. But there's something pretty bad about this. As you can see, I'm really badly outnumbered. I've got slingers, and they launch like rocks, and they launch rocks sort of at a low level. There's not a lot of an arc to it, so you can actually get a lot of your own men killed by your own rocks, but it's really not too much of an issue. They could have probably actually done a little bit more to make it, that particular aspect, a little bit more
We have lost a victory
little
point.
bit more like you sort of expect, and that, you know, you get a lot more friendly kills. But look, this army, the city which I'm attacking is actually getting reinforced, but as you can see, where it's getting reinforced from is from the sea, and they're just sitting off the coast and actually not actually coming on to the land to actually launch an attack. So even though I'm grossly outnumbered as far as statistics.
Our general is under attack.
Yeah, you watch this. This is really terrible. I take this point. Game over. Sort of, you see the countdown at the top. Once it gets to 0, you know, it's pretty much that's it. So
We hunger for blood and battle.
you know,
Heroic riders. Swift
that's pretty poor. And like I said, it's just, you know,
One of our
you get to
units
this
has used all
stage,
its
it's just
ammunition.
group and click. You know, it's
slingers.
and this is apparently legendary.
Heroic riders. Get
God.
The enemy fort will soon be ours.
Yeah, so once we take the fort, this battle's over, and those other units that haven't engaged basically just retreat. So, there you go. How about that? Take the town, look at the kills. That's a pretty standard, that sort of ratio of kills, if you actually fight the battles yourself. But the battles become very monotonous, and there's still too much focus on sieges and stuff like that.
Thirsty for battle.
You don't really find
Thirsty for battle.
armies coming out to attack, and I don't know why. I would have thought that was something simple. Okay, so when you're upgrading, tend to, you know, stick to morale upgrades and melee upgrades. Always gonna work in your favour. Food's important. You know, you need to generate food. You also need to generate a fair amount of like happiness. So you'll see how as we get through and building up more cities as we go, we'll focus on looking at how we make our cities and that happy and keep them happy. So that's all good. Now this is the other sad part. Look at this. Okay, so I've hit end turn and they've decided to come back and attack, and the balance of power is now way in my favour. I can't be fucked actually gonna play this because it's ridiculous. So auto resolve actually gives them a better ratio of kills, but whereas, you know, you would have thought that you had a, when I first initially went to attack, would have thought I could have probably lost.
Gods demand
I
it.
didn't,
Our
and
ancestors
basically
love it.
his whole
You,
army
I
and
expect
everything
to
is
see
just
mewling
completely
like
wiped
a
out.
woman.
Anyway, we'll see you next time for Act 2. I hope you enjoyed. Please rate and subscribe. See ya.